Let's hear from both sides of the aisle now. Welcome back to our panel, Sinclair political commentator Ameshia Cross, member of the President's National Security Education Board, host of America First on Salem Radio, and Sinclair media contributor Dr. Sebastian Gorka, University of Maryland lecturer Dr. Jason Nichols. Ameshia, Governor of California, staunch Democrat, liberal, says cancel Thanksgiving. You can't gather, can't have more than a few people. You shouldn't even have Thanksgiving. Do it outside. Do it on the beach. Stand 6 feet apart for Thanksgiving. Cook your turkey in one of those pots and serve and throw the leg to someone else. And then he gets caught attending his pal's 50th birthday party in a restaurant in Napa. What's happening with the hypocrisy on the liberal left, Ameshia?
Well, I don't think that there's any excuse for what the governor did, nor any excuse for those who are walking down the halls of Congress right now who aren't wearing masks. And I think that that comes from both sides. But for the left specifically, from a party that we've seen, try to, at least in Twitter and in word, motivate and activate the American public around protecting against COVID-19, this is just simply unacceptable.
Sebastian, I'm quoting the governor of California. A few weeks ago, I was asked to go to a friend's 50th birthday party, a friend I've known for almost 20 years. It was in Napa. It was a restaurant. The program started at 4 o'clock. I got there a little late. I made a bad mistake. Instead of sitting down, I should have stood up and drove back to my house. Instead, I chose to sit there. Hypocrisy, my friend.
Eric, the only reason, and that's not even an apology, the only reason that he's pretending to apologize is because he got caught. It's like those dozens of Democrats who are having their retreat in Maui because, hey, we can. It's the magic immunity that Democrats have from COVID. If it's a BLM demonstration, if it's an Antifa riot, nobody cares on the left, especially CNN. But if there's a conservative event, if the president has a rally, if hundreds of thousands of Americans come to D.C., oh, look, somebody doesn't have a mask. It's a super spreader event. I'd like to hear one Democrat who actually is honest use the phrase super spreader for a BLM or Antifa event. I'll wait.
Oh, well, let's ask Jason. Jason, your thought. I mean, look, I've worn a mask. I've said this on the show 100 times. I've worn a mask a year before COVID ever came to our shores. I just always wore a mask on airplanes. I'm a believer in masks. But when I hear the left telling me, if you gather with other people, you're going to be a spreader or, whatever you call them, a shedder or a spreader. And then I see the pictures that Sebastian points out of the celebration when Joe Biden, when Joe Biden won the election or is believed to have won the election, and people are packed together, tens of thousands of them packed together like that. What is it? Is these events are spreaders, or they're not spreaders, or they're only spreaders when the right does it?
No, I think again the key operative word is mask. You wear masks. People at those events that I've seen, and I was upset, like I said, I was stuck in traffic because of that celebration. They were wearing masks for the most part. The people who weren't were irresponsible and should be called out. I think the thing is that at the rights events, they make it a political point not to wear a mask, and large numbers of people are not wearing masks, and then it becomes responsible for the spread of the virus. And, I've had friends who have recently been diagnosed, people who are sick right now, that I really admire because they've been around people who have not been wearing masks.
The governor of California didn't say, go enjoy your Thanksgiving and your Christmas celebrations, wear a mask. He said, don't do them at all or do them outside. It's not about the mask. It's about the social distancing for a lot of people. And then if you disagree with that, you're somehow some sort of denier, COVID denier, which I'm not.
Well, see, here's the thing. I think you need to understand that when you are eating, it's impossible to wear a mask. So if you just want to have friends over and talk and then they leave so that you can eat with your family, then it's not really a spreader event because you're not taking off the mask. You can even hug and be around one another. Right. But if you're going to have where you sit close, shoulder to shoulder, like I have for years at Thanksgiving with loved ones,
right?
And you've got your grandmother there, and no one is wearing a mask because they're eating. It becomes dangerous, and then people get sick.
Right.
So I think
let me get Ameshia in here. Ameshia, I'm not even talking about the science behind it. I'm talking about the hypocrisy of the demanding people social distance unless there's as Sebastian points out, a peaceful protest on some street throwing rocks or a celebration for a Democrat winning an election.
Well, I'm not going to argue about the protests. I think that at the end of the day, what we saw and what the science has told us is that the majority of protests did not result in tons of people getting COVID-19, partially because a lot of the people who protested were younger and weren't going to be the most acceptable anyway, but also because in the majority of these protests, a lot of these individuals, specifically BLM, as well as those celebrating the win of Joe Biden, were wearing masks. Right. We also know that the Democratic Party has not gone out of its way, to Jason's point, to tell people over and over again not to wear masks. So I don't think that getting upset about someone having a celebration in the streets is what this argument is about. And Thanksgiving is entirely different because that is a multi-generational event. My grandparents, my great-grandparents, my great-uncles, all of them show up to a Thanksgiving. That's very different than anybody standing outside and celebrating or protesting, because my great-grandparents are out there.
Let me give Sebastian one final thought quickly. Sebastian, you got 30 seconds.
Look, I respect you, Eric, and your decision. I refuse to wear a mask. As liberals like to say about abortion, my body, my choice. This is a disease that affects less than 1% of the population in terms of mortality. In July, the CDC said 25% of adolescents in America contemplated suicide because of the shutdown. It's time to get America back to work and stop being a bunch of cowards. If you want to wear a mask, fine, but don't preach to anybody else if they don't want to, because America needs to get back to work, period.
Very good. We're going to leave it right there. Panel, heated discussion, as always. Thank you, panel.